The old theater stood silhouetted against a bruised twilight sky, a skeletal finger pointing accusingly at the heavens. Fog, thick and cloying, snaked through the deserted streets, clinging to the cobblestones like a shroud. It was on such a night, steeped in an atmosphere of profound unease, that I first encountered something inexplicable. Something that shattered the foundations of my reality and left me forever haunted. I'd heard the whispers, dismissed the tales of restless spirits and tragic echoes as mere folklore. Now I understand the chilling truth. Some places are not meant to be disturbed. Act 1. Introduction Setup. The Blackwood Grand. That was its name, etched in faded gold lettering above the decaying entrance. Once it had been the jewel of the city, a beacon of artistry and glamour. Now it was a crumbling monument to forgotten dreams and unspoken horrors. Locals avoided it, crossing the street rather than risk a glance at its darkened windows. But I, armed with a thirst for the unknown and a naive belief in my own invulnerability, was drawn to it like a moth to a deadly flame. The air grew noticeably colder as I approached, the fog intensifying, swirling around my ankles like spectral hands. A prickling sensation crawled across my skin, a visceral warning that I was trespassing on hallowed, or rather unhallowed ground. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the distant mournful wail of a train. But even that sound seemed to be swallowed by the fog, leaving an unnerving void. I told myself it was just the atmosphere, the power of suggestion amplified by the local legends. But deep down, a primal fear began to stir, a cold knot tightening in my stomach. I should have turned back then. I should have heeded the silent plea of the theater itself. But curiosity, that insatiable and often fatal flaw, held me captive. A sudden gust of wind rattled the theater's boarded-up windows, creating a cacophony of creaks and groans that sounded like tortured souls lamenting their fate. Then I heard it. A faint, echoing laughter carried on the wind. It wasn't joyous or mirthful. It was brittle, hollow, tinged with an undercurrent of madness that sent shivers down my spine. The laughter faded as quickly as it appeared, leaving me breathless and disoriented. It was the sound of pure, unadulterated dread. The air itself seemed to vibrate with a silent scream. I stood frozen, my mind reeling, struggling to reconcile what I had heard with the rational world I knew. This was no mere superstition. This was something else. Act 2. Investigation, Escalation. Driven by a mixture of fear and morbid fascination, I began to research the history of the Blackwood Grand. The local library became my sanctuary, its dusty tomes whispering tales of forgotten tragedies. I discovered a dark and disturbing past, a chronicle of unexplained accidents, sudden illnesses, and ultimately, a devastating fire that claimed the lives of dozens. But the most chilling details were the whispers, the unsubstantiated rumors of a secret room beneath the stage, a place where unspeakable rituals were said to have taken place. Reports of strange occurrences surrounding the theater stretched back for decades. Witnesses spoke of phantom footsteps echoing through the empty halls, disembodied voices reciting lines from long-forgotten plays, and objects moving on their own accord. One particularly unsettling account described a spectral figure lurking in the balcony, its face obscured by shadow, its eyes burning with an unholy light. The stories were dismissed as the ramblings of cranks and attention seekers, but the sheer volume and consistency of the reports began to erode my skepticism. One evening, while meticulously combing through old newspaper articles, I stumbled upon a photograph of the theater's original owner, a flamboyant impresario named Alistair Blackwood. His eyes, even in the grainy black and white image, held a disturbing intensity, a hint of something dark and sinister lurking beneath the surface. The article mentioned his sudden and unexplained disappearance shortly before the fire. No body was ever found. As I stared at the photograph, I felt a cold, clammy hand brush against the back of my neck. I whirled around, heart pounding, but there was nothing there. Determined to experience the theater firsthand, I returned under the cloak of darkness. The fog was even thicker than before, obscuring everything beyond a few feet. As I cautiously made my way towards the entrance, I noticed something lying on the ground. An old, leather-bound diary, its pages yellowed and brittle with age. A wave of unease washed over me as I picked it up. The leather felt strangely cold and clammy to the touch. I opened the diary, my hands trembling, and began to read. The diary belonged to a former actress, Eliza Thorne, who had performed at the Blackwood Grand in its heyday. Her entries began with enthusiastic descriptions of the theater, her fellow actors, and the thrill of performing on stage. But as I delved deeper, the tone shifted, becoming increasingly paranoid and disturbed. She wrote of strange whispers in the corridors, unsettling dreams, and a growing sense of dread that permeated the entire theater. She claimed that Blackwood himself was behaving erratically, conducting secret meetings late at night, and muttering about ancient rituals and forbidden knowledge. Her final entry, scrawled in a frantic hand, spoke of a hidden chamber beneath the stage and a terrifying secret that Blackwood was desperately trying to protect. Then, the entries abruptly stopped. Act 3. Revelation Climax. As I finished reading the diary, the theater came alive. The temperature plummeted and the air crackled with static electricity. I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoing from within the building, heavy and deliberate, as if someone or something was approaching. The echoing laughter returned, louder and more menacing than before, joined by a chorus of whispers that seemed to claw at my sanity. Then I saw them. Two shadowy figures emerged from the darkness within the theater. They were indistinct, wraith-like, their forms shifting and swirling like smoke. One figure was tall and gaunt, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. The other was smaller, more compact, and seemed to be constantly fidgeting, its hands twitching in the air. They moved with an eerie grace, gliding across the stage as if weightless. I was paralyzed with fear, unable to move or speak. The figures began to communicate, not with words, but with gestures and movements. It was a macabre ballet, a silent pantomime of terror. They seemed to be reenacting a scene, a tragic drama that unfolded before my eyes. I saw the larger figure, presumably Blackwood, standing over the smaller figure, Eliza, who cowered on the floor. He raised his hands, and I saw a glint of metal in the darkness. Then the scene shifted, and I saw flames engulfing the theater, the shadowy figures writhing in agony. It was a horrifying spectacle, a glimpse into a forgotten nightmare. Suddenly, the figures turned their attention to me. Their shadowy faces seemed to focus on my location, and a wave of pure, unadulterated malevolence washed over me. I felt as if they were peering into my very soul, exposing my deepest fears and insecurities. The whispering intensified, coalescing into a single, coherent voice that echoed in my mind. "Leave," it hissed. "This place is not for you. Forget what you have seen." Act 4. Aftermath Reflection. I didn't need to be told twice. I stumbled backwards, scrambling away from the theater as fast as my legs could carry me. I didn't stop running until I reached the safety of my apartment, miles away from the Blackwood Grand. I locked the doors, drew the curtains, and huddled in a corner, trembling with fear. The experience at the Blackwood Grand changed me. The veil between the worlds had been lifted, and I had glimpsed the horrors that lie beyond. I tried to dismiss it as a hallucination, a product of stress and an overactive imagination, but I knew the truth. I had witnessed something real, something terrifying that defied explanation. I still have Eliza Thorne's diary. It's locked away in a safe deposit box, a constant reminder of the darkness I encountered. Sometimes, late at night, I hear the echoing laughter, a faint whisper carried on the wind. It's a reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved, that some doors should remain forever closed. The world is not always as it seems, and there are forces at play that are far beyond our comprehension. The Blackwood Grand stands as a testament to that truth, a haunted monument to forgotten tragedies and the enduring power of the paranormal. And I, a reluctant witness, will forever bear the scars of that fateful night. I pray you learn from my mistake, and if you ever find yourself drawn to a place steeped in such darkness, turn away, run, and never look back, because some things are better left undisturbed. Some doors, once opened, can never truly closed.